Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing Gary Vaynerchuk's 12 and a half Leveraging the Emotional Ingredients Necessary for Business Success. So I haven't reviewed any Gary V books on the channel. Interestingly, I've read a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk's books, which when we say books, a lot of times Gary will say that he hasn't sat down and written these books in the traditional sense. He's either recorded audio or video, had competent people pull together his voice, and I think it's come through. I very much feel as though the books that I'm reading reflect the video and audio of his that I've heard in the past. And so this is yet another one of those books. It's not long. It's 200 pages altogether. And as with any of Gary Vaynerchuk's stuff, he's very much a Marmite guy. You love him or hate him. I think what's valuable is that he's not putting out the same garbage business books that we normally have, which offer 30 pages of value, and then they go on for 270 more unnecessary pages to deliver a 300-page book. That Gary's books are very often filled with case studies or with how-tos and why-tos, and they aren't advocating for a particular system where you need to hire him to do this. He's giving you the tools to do the things yourself. And this book's broken up into 3 simple sections. You've got, firstly, the ingredients. So the emotional ingredients, there's 12 of them that he feels that he expresses really well, and a half one that he's working on called Kind Candor. I'll talk about that in a moment. Then the second part of the book are scenarios which you can role play through, either with a friend, a colleague, a mentor, or just yourself. And then the last part, which might be hard for some people, are some exercises in which you basically exercise these ingredients and try to make them more expressive in yourself. So we can start with the half, what is Gary V working on, that he's only currently a half, and he'd like to get it up to this being maybe his 13th ingredient. I've started to work on balancing my kindness with candor. I realized that kindness without candor was creating entitlement within my organization. By giving positive reinforcement again and again without critical feedback, I created delusion, which led to entitlement. I have a visceral reaction to confrontation, and so I was very bad at giving critical feedback for most of my career. After 24 years as a business operator, I'm heartbroken that there are people out there who don't feel great toward me because I wasn't able to be candid with them. I would fire them without giving them enough feedback, or I would create situations that forced them to quit. I didn't see the beauty of candor, the humanity in it. I didn't realize that candor actually is kindness. I can think of many times when some kind candor would have taken my success to a higher plane. All my unhappiness in life and business has resulted from my inability to deploy kind candor when necessary. That's why I'm calling it my half. I say half because nobody's a zero on anything. No matter how bad you think you are, the fact that you're even aware of a weakness or a gap has already started your process of becoming better at the underdeveloped skill. So once again, some great self-awareness on his part, but encouraging us to look at the value of candor. He's talking about why it really matters to him, but I think that it's something that we could all benefit from. I don't think anybody would struggle with having kind candor be more expressed in their life. So he goes through these emotional ingredients. I'll read them quickly. Gratitude, self-awareness, accountability, optimism, empathy, kindness, tenacity, curiosity, patience, conviction, humility, ambition. And with that humility and ambition dyad there at the end, you might think, wait, humility and ambition? In each of these cases, Gary gives the dictionary definition of the word, and then he gives his own context, his own commentary on whether he thinks that's valid and why or why not. And he explains, how can you be humble with ambition? How can you be ambitious and still be humble? He gives those explanations. So I'll leave that to you to read the book and see how he deals with it yourself. In the second half of the book, he then gives scenarios. Now that he's given you these ingredients, his own take on these ingredients, he's then going to tell you why you can use them, how you can use them in given scenarios. And I'll read one of these to you. When your manager or client gives you unexpected negative feedback, how you deliver the following line determines what will happen next. Hey Olivia, can you give me more clarity on your feedback? I want you to read that line out loud 7 times. Read it like someone who's pessimistic about getting another job. Read it like someone who's resentful or angry. Read it like an egotistical employee who looks down on the manager's skills. Read it like a big spender worried about the payments on a luxury car. Then, read it like someone who's optimistic about the future. Read it like someone who's humble, curious, and wants to learn more. Read it like someone who doesn't default to blaming other people. See how different that same line sounds? The emotional ingredients you deploy in this situation can change your tone of questioning and potentially the outcome of the meeting. And that's so true, and it's a lesson that most of us learn in business at some point, but I think this book is great for potential graduates, not only for them to read these scenarios, but then to role-play these scenarios with friends, mentors, parents, people in their life, and say, how did you deal with a situation like this, something similar? Hey, Olivia, can you give me more clarity on your feedback? The last part of the book might be, let's say, the hairy, scary portion for a lot of people, in which Gary, as per usual, asks you to take to social media to go through some exercises, and he's relentless. He will scroll through a given hashtag and respond to people who are using this. And I'm just going to read a couple of the exercises so that you can hear them for yourself. So about accountability, think about a time recently when you deflected blame on someone else for something that was your fault. Post a video or photo on the social media platform where you have the most followers and apologize for it. Use the hashtag AccountabilityGaryV. I'll be scrolling through and giving love to as many of you as I can. Empathy. Call one close family member and one close friend from work. Ask them, from our interactions in the last few years, can you give me an example of a time when you were upset about something and my reaction didn't bring you value? Was there a time when my reaction to an event poured lighter fluid on your stress or anxiety? Tell me the story. You'll hear about a time when another human being was hurt because you were unable to empathize, being more focused on yourself than the other person. Yeah, I think that's a powerful exercise, and one that doesn't require you to necessarily go on social media. So I gave one social media example, one non-social media example, and then here's one that is somewhere in between about kind candor. Kind candor was usually the most difficult ingredient for me in this book. It's still a half, not even a full ingredient. For this exercise, think about someone in your life you need to talk to with kind candor. Then write out an email as though you were talking to him or her in person and send it to kindcandor@vfriends.com. I don't know what Gary's going to use. I don't think he's going to send it to that person on your behalf or necessarily publish it, but I do think he's looking for more context for kind candor, which probably will form the basis of another book. So, Gary Vaynerchuk, love him or hate him, I don't agree with everything he talks about. I'd say I'm probably 85% on the Gary V bandwagon. On a higher level, I think Gary's shooting too low. I think he's entirely focused on this earthly existence. So he talks about wanting his birthday or funeral day to become a national holiday. He says he wants to have a big turnout at his funeral. I just don't think that's sufficient for all the hard work and all the pain he goes through in order to simply have a great funeral or take care of his loved ones. I think those are laudable, and I think those are worth shooting for. But life is more than this life. I think that's the reality. Is if you understand that this life is simply a part of a larger journey that extends out into eternity, then you're going to have this idea that excellence here only matters insofar as it relates and reflects to excellence in the hereafter. And so I think that's where I would like to see Gary continue to evolve over time, is taking his eye off of this life and looking at the next life. It's something he never ever talks about for his own reasons. He's not required to talk about it, but I think over time, as he matures as an author, as a content creator, as a person, as a human being, I hope that he sees the importance of that, and that how short this life is, and how unimportant business is. And that's a quote. I should give him credit. He does say that in here. He said, once you realize, how unimportant business is, then you can feel free to have fun with it. So I do think he's starting to gain some of that perspective, and I hope that that trajectory continues for him. If you enjoyed this review, please hit the like button and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews. If you'd like to go back and look at previous reviews I've done, you can look back on the channel. I'll put a link to buy this book from Bookshop down below, and as well as a link to my Patreon, where you can click over and support these video reviews if you'd like. But until next time, enjoy your reading.